Ons gaan voort met Nuusdag Perspektief. Nou, dis vandag presies 5 jaar sedert die vader van demokrasie, Nelson Mandela, gesterf het. Nou, dit was 'n oomblik wat die land tot in sy fondamente geskit het. Wat was jou herinnering van Mandela? Kan jy onthou waar jy was toe jy die nuus van sy heengaan ontvang het? Hoe onthou Suid-Afrikaners hom en wat was sy nalatenskap? Die uitvoerende hoof van die Nelson Mandela Stigting, Sello Hatang, is saam met my in die ateljee. A very good evening and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It must have been a very busy day for you today.
It has been. So one hasn't had the moment to reflect on this moment 5 years ago. So it's been hectic.
On a personal note, what is your memories of Tata Mandela?
Yeah, you know, interestingly, I only have one photograph of myself with Mandela.
Yes.
Every time that it happens with me, I hardly appear on photographs. I prefer taking photos of people. So this photograph was in one of the newspapers, I think published for the first time this past week. It reminded me of Mandela, who had humility as the core of his being. And that was the last day he came to the foundation, or rather, sorry, the second last day he came to the foundation in 2010. And he walked in and I introduced him to his guests. And I made a joke, and he laughed so hard that that photograph had to be captured. And humility of Mandela is he always wanted you to feel that you're important. You felt that even in the presence of others, he was little and they were big. And that's something we should remember as leaders.
Now, as the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, you work tirelessly to make sure that Mandela's legacy stay intact. Now, can you remind South Africans the gift that he left for us behind?
You know, South Africans don't appreciate Mandela as much as the international community does. You have to get on a plane and go to Uganda, go to Ghana, you go to Ethiopia, and you go to the US, you go to any part of Europe, you'll then realize how big Mandela was. And those people in those countries, when you tell them that South Africans call Mandela a sellout, they're shocked. And I think if there's a gift that Mandela gave us, it was something that happened today, in fact, with the passing of Ndade Alex Borain. And we pass our deepest condolences to his family. Someone who really wanted to find a way to have South Africa that's more reconciled than it is at the moment. And if there's anything that we can pay back to Mandela, is to ensure that we are a more reconciled nation that's free of racism. Because despite every experience that he had, he still gifted us with forgiveness, the sense of forgiveness, but that we must always remember what happened. And that's the gift that we should always try and cherish.
Now, I wish we had more time, because I want to dip into that, but you just mentioned that a number of people maybe would say that Mandela was a sellout because during the negotiations in the 90s, and that he didn't focus, he was pandering to the idea of white monopoly capital, and that he was not advocating radical economic transformation. How would you respond to that?
I think it's lazy politics. For me, in part, it's politics that excels in sloganeering than content. And this is a man who was 73 years old when he came out of prison, who had served for 5 years. And if you were anyone else around the world, in fact, you would think that Mandela ruled South Africa forever.
Yes.
Because we forget that there was another administration after Mandela and another one. So it's 20 full years, or rather 19 years of governance post-Mandela. So I think it must be that we are saying, as a people, that we are either unimaginative, that we can keep blaming the first administration for flaws of today. We are not people who want to do something about our own future, that we want to blame the past and argue for a better past instead of a better future.
Just briefly, because we're running out of time, Sello, I needed more time with you, but how do you think South Africans should continue to honor Mandela's legacy?
I think the best way to do that is the best way that each one of us believes that we can. I mean, when Mandela was asked that question, he said it would be arrogant for him or of him to then determine how people remember him. And I think as he was leading us to say, we should determine how we think he should be remembered. And the best memory that I have of Mandela is one who was a dreamer, who dreamt of a country that was better than the one we have today, that has more people that are not alienated by the system, in terms of 51% of young people who are unemployed, that we must have more people employed, that we must remember those who suffered for the democracy that we have, who lost lives in fact, and that as we do so, we must carry hope, but hope that has more action than just hope.
And do your 67 minutes for Madiba.
Do your bit for Madiba, and do your bit for those who are still to be born. Not though, we shouldn't be reminiscing about Madiba of the past 100 years, but be remembering Madiba of the past 100 years with the next 100 years in mind.
What are some of the other projects that you're currently busy with?
Yeah, so tomorrow we'll be hosting Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, a Nigerian author. We'll also be with the UN on Friday.
Thank you so much, Sello, for coming through. Dit was de uitvoerende hoof van die Nelson Mandela Stigting, Sello Hatang. Ik groet tot de volgende keer. Geniet die rest van die aand. Tot ziens.